It is getting a little bit easier doing this. I just have to talk to myself, like hype myself up in the first few minutes, and then I find my groove usually toward the end of the video. But the first part of the video, unfortunately, is usually a little bit nervous. But first, I will introduce myself. Hello, my name is Cassandra, and welcome to my temple. I'm 29 years old, and I'm documenting the last year of my 20s in these raw confessionals, processing the lessons I've learned. Some people are able to create the antidote for the poisons of this world, and some people succumb to the poisons of this world. Every single person has the medicine for all of the toxic shit they experience. Everybody has the ability to create their own solutions. Everyone is challenged to understand the difference between what is poison and what is medicine. And a lot of people get confused because sometimes poison tastes really good and sometimes medicine tastes really bad. And as we go through life, we are constantly tested on whether we know what is poison or medicine. And it is something deep within us that allows us to know the difference. I mentioned this in a video a while back. It's probably private now. It's probably not on my YouTube channel anymore, but I talk about what the ego is. Ego is a snake that in order to be healthy, needs to be constantly shedding its layers, constantly shedding its skin, and renewing itself. But what ends up happening for a lot of people is that they do not shed old skins and old identities, and the skin sort of piles up. And when a snake does not shed its skin, it becomes sick. And a lot of people are sick because they are not shedding enough. And I don't actually know anything about the real anatomy of snakes or what happens to snakes, but this metaphor basically serves the understanding that we must constantly be renewing ourselves and renewing our identity. And when we don't do that, we become sick and insensitive to what we really need. And so when the ego has all of these extra layers, it's in pain, right? And it will seek things that it believes will relieve its pain rather than the actual medicine that will cause it to shed these old layers. But when you are so identified with these old layers, this dead skin, you don't want to shed it. And instead of allowing yourself to shed that skin, you just want to take that poison that will give you some relief. Again, so this is the lesson that I think every single one of us ends up going through in life. It is, are we going to shed our old identities, or are we going to simply relieve ourselves from the suffering and suffer our entire lives with these small moments of relief? What's really important to realize about this is that most people will take the poison instead. Most people will end up nursing some misery in their lives for the rest of their lives. And that's just their choice, period. There's no coddling, there's no, it's gonna be okay. Like, they're just people who are like that. And some of those people are very close to us. It's just a fact of life that we are going to encounter miserable people. Misery loves company. When you are someone who does not want to be miserable, who is doing everything you can in your power, everything in your capability to not be miserable, watching someone make choices that makes them miserable is hard. Because you want to help, you want to give advice, you want them to help themselves, but they're not doing it. They are choosing their misery. They have adopted this narrative about themselves that's just who they are. They can't be anything better. They can't do anything more for themselves. They are just a victim to their circumstances. I want to break this down a little bit because I want to help people understand what's going on. And it's something that I'm processing in the moment as well. Let's talk about this snake for a second, this ego snake. What is stopping that skin from being shed is the identification with this idea that you are incapable, that you do not have the medicine to solve your own problems, and that that medicine exists outside of yourself, and that something has to happen in the outside world in order for that person to be saved. And this is part of the core of victim mentality. It's that I don't have the answers. I don't have the solution. The solution and the answers exist outside of myself, and there are barriers to the solution because the solution is outside of myself. However, if you view life knowing deeply that you create your own solutions, that you create your own medicine, and that every single one of us has that ability, it is natural to humans to be the answer to our problems. I'm visualizing this energy inside of us that can be spun into solutions. We all carry around the solutions to every single one of our problems. But what prevents people from seeing that is thinking that the solutions and answers are outside, that somebody has to come and save them from this misery. And it stops them from actually seeking and seeing that that is actually inside of themselves. It's one of the things that I think about a lot because I wanted to be a life coach, and I think I would be really good at it, honestly. But there is something inside of me that understands that when you show up in someone's life as a life coach, as someone who, wants to help people do better, at the core of my values is wanting that person to know they have their own solutions. You will find the answers to your own questions. And so it's a little antithetical to that value to try to guide people somewhere, because I want people to know that they have it. You have the answers. And if I'm trying to get people not to depend on me, I'm not going to be making any money because I'm going to be saying, okay, what do you think? I do not want people dependent on me, because the reason I'm here is because I did a lot of inner work, because I did a lot of introspection. And that wasn't just in my 20s. That was in my teenage years as well. I went inside. I did what was natural to me. And this is what I want people to know, especially in their 20s and as you're transitioning into your 30s or in your 30s and beyond. It's that you have the power to create your own solutions. Whatever is causing you pain, you have the medicine for it. It exists inside of you. This is wrapping around to what I was talking about before, which is we are all challenged to know the difference between poison and medicine. I hate to generalize, but I'm about to generalize. After 30, people really start to become set in their ways. They have sort of a set idea of what is what. And if that set idea is wrong, it becomes very hard for them to take the medicine later on, meditate on the medicine within, on the soul within, because your soul knows the difference. And sometimes we have to take some bitter medicine, but it's worth it. Sometimes we crave the poison, but we have to rest in our knowing. When we feel that urge, the restlessness of withdrawal from our poisons, just know your soul is at rest when you are listening to it. All you have to do is keep listening. And those urges go away when you take enough medicine. But it's a choice you have to make constantly. You will be challenged on this for the rest of your life. I think it really is, I think, one of the deepest lessons in our lifetimes. For every one of us, it's kind of universal. Do you know the difference between poison and medicine? Listening to my soul and giving myself what I need is the key to living a good life. I do not want to be miserable. I do not want to be bitter. I do not want to feed the demons inside of me. Okay, that sounds really dramatic, and I don't want to sound like a, like a woo-woo spiritual bullshitter. But those things inside of us that crave the poison, I don't want to feed them. It's not good for me. I want to feel good. Okay, that's all I have to say for now. Bye.